Hello and welcome to the CircuitPython Weekly for November 19th, 2018. I'm Scott and I'm sponsored by Adafruit to work full-time on CircuitPython, which is amazing. We have a couple other folks in this chat who are also sponsored by Adafruit, so go buy something from Adafruit and thank them. In general, this meeting happens every week, and anybody from the CircuitPython community is welcome to join in. The meeting happens on our Discord channel, which you can go to adafru.it/discord to join. Check out the CircuitPython text chat and the CircuitPython voice chat for where this meeting happens. Happens at 11 a.m. Pacific on Mondays, which is 2 p.m. Eastern time. And everybody's welcome to join, as I said. The meeting is also recorded, so if you do join, beware that things are being recorded and will be posted both to Diode Zone and YouTube. So if you have a preference on where to watch it, it's available in both of those places. The meeting is 4 parts. We start with a state of CircuitPython, which is just an overview that Kattni and I do about the core, the state of the core, and the state of the libraries as well. Both 2 critical pieces of the CircuitPython project. We follow that up with our first session of round robins, which is hug reports, which is a chance for everybody who's in the meeting to say a thank you to other folks for the work that they've been doing. And we do that in round robin format. So I'll start, and then we go down the list of people in the voice chat channel, giving them a chance. If you're text only, like you don't have a microphone, feel free to type into text and into the text chat, the CircuitPython channel, and I'll read it off. And then if you're lurking and just want to be skipped, let me know that as well. So after hug reports, we'll do status updates, which we do in the similar fashion, but this time we'll talk briefly about what you've been working on and what you plan on working on in the coming week. It's great for just tips and tricks of like if you're working on something similar to what someone else has done, or they have thoughts or ideas, it's a good chance to cover those. And then finally, we'll do an in the weeds section, which is just any topic that we want to talk about that doesn't fit into any other section. So yeah, that's the structure of the meeting. As I said, everybody is welcome. And let me know if you're looking or if you're text only, and I'll read it off. And you'll hear me taking notes because the notes go up with the video recordings, and they include time codes so that you can skip around if you like. And with that, I will take a time code and go into the state of CircuitPython. All right, so overall, this is kind of a statistics view of CircuitPython. In the last week, I pulled these from the Amazon S3 bucket. Thanks to Summersoft, we run it automatically every night. And so I actually pulled these from there, which is great. So overall, we had 20 pull requests merged from 7 different authors. So pretty good engagement, and 6 reviewers, which is great as well. Overall, we had 9 closed issues by 5 people and 9 opened by 7 people. So we're even on issues wise, which is good. Although I did close a couple last night after I took these numbers, so they're better than this. That's why I like to do all my emails and stuff after that. I usually do it before I pull these numbers, but that'll be different now. And then in general, if I had to say the summary overall, Kattni's been rocking the libraries, making sure that everything's been released. Summersoft has been a huge help with that as well. So our libraries are in a better state than they have been ever, I think. And Brennan has been helping on the Raspberry Pi side as well. And then in terms of the core, I released Alpha 3 last week. It's more alpha than ever. We've got a couple good bug reports already, and I just wanted to thank everybody who's tested that, and hopefully I'll find some fixes for the issues that have come up and release an alpha 4 this week as well, just to get it a bit more stable and to feel better about the USB stack stability. So that'll be good. And now so that's overall, and then core wise, we had 9 pull requests merged from 4 authors, and we had three reviewers for those 9 pull requests. We have 6 open. If you want to see the 6 that are open, please check the notes. We have them listed here. Issues wise, we closed 6 issues and opened 5. So again, we're hovering right around even, which is great. And we had 94 open issues total. So that number seems too low to me, but I'll have to check that. I think it's more like 150. But I could be wrong. Yeah, that number's wrong. I don't know why. GitHub says it's 152 open, so I will take a look at that. Okay. I found a bug. Download stats wise, 4.0 Alpha 3 was released on Thursday last week and had 67 total downloads, which interestingly, 9 of those were for the MKR 1300. So if you want to see all of the statistics in terms of downloads per board, check that out, or check the notes out. We have it broken down by both board and by language, so check that out. Our latest stable release is 3.1.1, and we've had 1,989 total downloads. And again, feel free to check the notes for more details. Let's go on to Kattni for libraries.
All right. So we had 11 pull requests merged this week, 4 authors and 6 reviewers, which is great. We have 10 open pull requests at the moment. A couple of those are just waiting testing. And I'm waiting on hardware to test a couple of those myself. And we had, with issues, we had 3 closed by 3 people and 4 opened by 4 people, which is great. In my mind, because that means a lot of people are involved. Mm-hmm. We have 62 open issues, which I think is accurate, across all the repos. And as you can see, we have a much cleaner set of information regarding all of the all the repo level issues. Now that we separated out the newer empty repos to be in their own thing. So there's actually a library tracking issue available on the CircuitPython repo that has all of these ones that you don't have listed actually listed out. So all the possible fixes that are available for libraries is available in that issue. I will be updating that again today. It gets updated weekly. If you're interested in getting started with CircuitPython, that's a great way to get started, is looking at issues on libraries. A lot of them are real simple fixes and if you want any help with that, feel free to ping us. There's a guide on using GitHub to contribute to CircuitPython, and it's would be super great. So if you're looking to get started, libraries are a great place to start. So check that out. And that's what we've got.
Awesome, thank you. Very excited to see all of the library improvements. So thank you, Kattni, and everybody else who's helped. All right, let's move on to Hug Reports. I'll take a time code here and move on to that. In general, Hug Reports is a chance for you to say thank you to the folks, other folks in the community for the work that they've been doing. This is both just nice to say thank you to other people, but it's also really good in that because we do it publicly, we kind of establish what is valuable to us as a community. So that's really good. I will start because I like to do it as an example. First and foremost, I wanted to say thank you to everybody who has tested Alpha 3 so far. We found a number of issues, minor issues, I would say, not like ground halting terrible issues. So thank you to everybody who has supported that. Please keep testing it. The tiny USB stuff is all new, so we need to make sure that that's super solid by the time we do a 4.0 stable. Over the weekend, I was doing FPGA work, and I wanted to just shout out to Mithro, Tim Ansel, for helping me through that and getting me set up. Really curious to see USB from the perspective of the hardware that's actually implementing the device. So that's been really fun, trying to get their soft USB peripheral running on the tiny USB that TAC wrote. So that would be really cool. And that's the same USB stack that we just swapped CircuitPython to as well. So exciting things there. I wanted to hug report to Ben Shockley for the Mini SAM board PR. Didn't get merged quite in yet because it hasn't been quite updated to all the changes I did. But that's very exciting to see. Mini SAM is the like robotic looking board that runs CircuitPython, which is cool. Thanks again to TAC for being receptive to those of us who are changing Tiny USB and getting more people on board with Tiny USB as well. That's very exciting. And then lastly, thanks to Kattni for all the library day work. It's very, very nice to see the libraries kind of get cleaned up on a weekly basis. So I really appreciate that. Okay. And now we have some folks who are not present in the meeting, but wanted to say hug reports to folks. So I'll just quickly run those down. I guess I didn't say it earlier, but if you are unable to make the meeting but want to provide hug reports and status updates, feel free to reach out to me, Kattni, Dan, and we'll read it off during the meeting. So first and foremost, Andon said a customary hug report to everyone since you are all awesome. Thank you, Andon, and glad you got a new job. That sounds exciting. Brent says, thanks to Jerry N for continued help with testing TinyLoRa. B. Bozer on GitHub for adding a %soft reset magic to the CircuitPython Jupyter kernel. It makes for easier debugging. TG Techie says, huge hug to the community. I looked down at my work today and there is no way I could have done this at my current level without Python. Your work and standardization has made it so easy and enjoyable to code for controllers. Thank you all so much. Happy Thanksgiving to all. So thank you, TG Techie. And Lady Ada said, big hug report to Tannewt and TAC for a huge USB rewrite, and hug report to Brennan and Kattni for character LCD hacking. So those are all the folks who are not in the meeting. Brennan, do you want to read yours off or paste it into the text chat and I'll read it off? I think you were having... All right, I'll start reading it while you paste. Brennan says, hug report to Carter for picking up the chained TLC 5947 support after I dropped the ball. And thank you to Kattni for taking on the character LCD library updates. Carter is lurking but says group hug, and we'll go on to C. Grover, who I think is also text only. Yeah, C. Grover says, group hug to the team and community. The help and support are amazing. Kattni's character display work will be a real time saver. Wildly anticipating Tannewt's USB implementation. Also, I appreciate the exposure to advanced topics, even though I don't understand many yet. Yeah, happy to talk advanced stuff. All right, Dakota.
Howdy. Group hugged all, and every time I say that, I realize there's a danger that if we all just say group hug to everyone, sometimes it doesn't have the impact that it should. So I'm going to try and tease out a couple specifics,
Okay.
which for me is difficult with my memory issues. So as part of that group hug, if any of you have ever written something down, published anything, or created anything and recorded it, thank you. Because as part of the community, people are trying to learn stuff, and that's one of the sources that they learn from. And that's always out there, even when the people aren't here in Discord, for people to get to in the wee hours of morning when we're awake and other people. And for some of us that have memory issues and might be a little embarrassed about asking the same question the third time in 2 days, it gives us something to refer to without annoying people. And secondly, I'm a member of a number of communities, and some of which are tapering off because of the age and the interests of some of the people that are members of those communities. This is one of the few communities that I'm a member of that are growing, that are vibrant.
Yay.
And I think that's because of efforts like group hugs that people are actively feeding into the community. So
Right.
those little things that you do are important. So thank you.
Awesome. Well said. Thank you so much. Okay, Dan.
Hi. Just two things this week. So I've been talking to Kevin Townsend, K-Town, who works for Adafruit, kind of offline about a lot of BLE stuff as I'm working on the BLE API and underlying implementation, and he's been very helpful. And then thanks again to Jerry this week for testing, as usual, testing our new builds and finding problems with them, and then documenting those problems, providing traces and all that kind of stuff. It's really, really helpful. Okay.
Awesome. Thanks, Dan. All right, Drew.
Wanted to thank Lady Ada for suggesting a better workaround for getting I2C to work on the BeagleBone to detect what was on the bus. So thanks to her for that.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Drew. Jerry?
Yeah, well, thanks to you and Dan for the awesome work on the USB stuff and the continued rapid response to the to getting it going. It's an amazing challenge. And a shout out to Brent R for his continued work on the Tiny LoRa stuff. It's coming along really well. He's got it, the Python implementation going along. That's great to see.
Awesome. Yeah, well, Jerry, I feel like the very first time I interacted with you, the promise was always like, I'm going to move fast, but I'll always fix your bugs as like one of my top priorities. So you've definitely taken me up on that, and I appreciate it. All right. Last but not least, Kattni.
So I just want to give a giant hug to Brennan for getting me started with updating Character LCD, taking on my first major driver work was incredibly daunting. And I had a lot of help with getting started and figuring out how to turn stuff that seemed completely impossible for me to do into figuring it out. So thank you very much for that. And a group hug to everybody else.
Awesome. All right. We just had a couple of folks join. TG Techie, I read your hug reports out already. And Pink Vampire, you just joined, so I'll give you a chance to get caught up with where we are. But we are just going on to status updates. We'll do it as a round robin, so I'll start, and then TG Techie can go, and then we'll go back to Brennan and down. If you didn't get a chance to say hug reports, feel free to throw it in there as well. So I'll take a time code. So this is status updates. This is another round robin, and it's briefly what you've been working on in the past week and what you plan on working on in the coming week. It's a holiday week in the US, so it might be nice to also mention if you're going to be gone, if you're okay disclosing that. So think about that as well. All right, I will start us off. So last Thursday, I released Alpha 3, which is very exciting. Felt like we got to the tiny USB stuff to the point where it was kind of usable, or was usable, and then we found a couple bugs. So I have that USB debugging to do today. Hopefully I'll figure that out. I'm working on USB MIDI, so I'm hoping to finish that in the next couple days as well. This weekend, I was playing around with FPGAs and LightX, which is like build your own system on a chip or design your own system on a chip using open source IP, which is really, really cool. Particularly helping with the USB side of that. So designing a USB peripheral to go on an FPGA and integrating that with TinyUSB. My goal is kind of to get TinyUSB as the like standard open source USB stack in the long term, which I think would be great. So yeah, that's what I'm working on. Thanksgiving is here in the US on Thursday. I'm busy during dinner, but in general, I'm going to be around this weekend. So we'll be doing a mixture of more USB hacking, both for FPGAs and for the core, more mainline CircuitPython stuff as well. So USB MIDI and debugging, any debugging that comes up as well. So I should be around. All right, and I will, before we go to TG Techie, let me just read off Brent's status update as well, which I have here. Brent says, working on a release of TinyLoRa for CircuitPython. Began work on this last week after releasing / bug fixing the Arduino library. Things network for CircuitPython ! Have most of the hardware classes fleshed out. Finished up the AES implementation it requires on Wednesday. To do will be adding message integrity checks with the security for the win in parentheses. Bring it all together, size / speed optimizations running on an M4 right now, and lots of testing. So that's Brent's update. And now we'll go to TG Techie. What's your status update?
Hi, so I'm walking home, so if there's any trouble hearing me, could you please just tell me to repeat it?
Yeah, it sounds good so far.
Okay. So as always, I've been working on my GUI for my tricorder, but I think I'm finally ready to alpha test some of the software.
Cool.
It currently only runs on M4 because it's huge right now, but it should be portable to most peripherals like NPR or NPR 121 capacitive or just regular load buttons.
Right.
So if anyone is willing to lend a helping hand in alpha testing, I'd greatly appreciate it.
Awesome. So they should just ping you on Discord then?
Please do.
Sounds perfect. And I'm really, I do intend on taking a look at it also when I do the display IO work. I think supporting your GUI stuff that you've already done is a really good start. So thanks for doing that.
Thank you all.
Awesome. All right. Let's go to Brennan, who's, I think, text only today. So says, Brennan says, some assistance last week to Kattni on the character LCD library update / testing. Created a hacky install script for libgpod on the Pi / Raspbian. Working on libgpod pulse in, a small C shim for polling GPIO values on Linux systems. Testing the TLC 5947 chaining. Improving Blinka platform detection slightly, and out Thursday and Friday. All right. And Carter is lurking, so we'll go to C. Grover, who says, posts a video as well. C. Grover says, deployed the CircuitPython and Trinket M0 holiday window lights this weekend, although they won't be activated until after Thanksgiving. Each controller box has its own piezo that plays a fanfare whenever the lights turn on or when they automatically turn off after 6 hours. Also tested the front panel and audio output features of the Lunchbox Music Synth, which is CircuitPython 311 Feather M0 Express custom purple PCB. Next steps are to finish testing the analog inputs and outputs, implementing the MIDI stack, and tune the default DSP G1 synth voices. And there's a video here, and you can check the notes for the URL as well. It looks super cool, and I'm curious to know about the MIDI stack because we need an official MIDI stack, so maybe we should pull together the code that you and Old Crow wrote to have an official MIDI transmit stack sort of thing. All right. Thanks, C. Grover. And let's move on to Dakota.
The most important thing I think I accomplished was I got an order in on the 4020, the new Neo Trellis kit. Ooh. Which reminds me of a late hug, whosever idea it was to put together that kit and put it in the store. They get a big hug. Other than that, I'm doing my homework on getting up to speed on CircuitPython, looking at all the references and all the videos and the documents I can find. Getting all my power supplies and boards and CPXs and feathers and all that in working order so that I can do some practice work. But
sounds like a lot of fun.
Oh, much fun, but not much progress with no memory.
Yeah. Well, writing things down, I'm sure helps. And if there is anything that you find that isn't written down or documented well, please let us know and we'll fix it.
Lack of documentation is definitely not a problem.
Yet.
Everything is wonderful, I have to say.
Great. Awesome. Well, I'm glad it's going well so far. All right, Dan.
Okay, so in preparation, Scott wanted to do a release last week, so he reminded me that we should merge in the 3.x fixes, of which mainly swapping frozen and lib, which you put into 3.1.2, or 3.1.1, I mean. I merged that into master and a couple of other minor things. And then we did the release. And then the other thing that I've been working on is still working on BLE, which is like weeks now. And there's a reason for that because it's complicated.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm continuing that.
Awesome.
Along with the usual support stuff.
Yep.
All right.
Awesome. Thanks, Dan. All right, Drew.
Yeah, I was able to test out some changes that Lady Ada suggested for detecting what devices are on the I2C bus, and that seems to resolve the issue that we were having with the BeagleBone, and also not cause regression for some other sensors that didn't like just having a read of 1 byte. So looks like that logic now should work, and just push to commit to my branch of CircuitPython bus device. So I think there was just a comment to see if Dan and you could take a look at it. But otherwise, I think it should be good.
Okay. Yeah, if you ever feel like you're waiting on me to get back to you and it's been over a day, please just ping me directly. I'll take a look.
Okay. Oh, this was just now. This was like 7 minutes ago.
All right. Well, your 24 hours is still going.
Okay.
But in general, like if I like sometimes I go to heads down on stuff, but my intention is not to block people. So this goes for everybody. If I haven't responded to something you need me to respond to in 24 hours and it's not the weekend and I'm not on vacation, then feel free to ping me. Yeah. So bias on towards pinging me if you need to know.
Same for me.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Thanks, Drew. Jerry.
Yeah, spent way much more time than I should have embedding a Gemma M0 and a accelerometer in this little hamster, so that it moves. You know, when you move it around, it changes colors. So it's hopefully going to entertain a 3-year-old this weekend.
I bet it will. I think it'd entertain me.
And let's see, what else I've been up to. Spent a bunch of time playing with the Bluefruit SPI thing too, which has been a lot of fun. One of the things about reading the forums is that people ask questions that prompt me to think, oh, gee, that'd be a fun thing to do. You know, especially if someone's having a problem with something, right? You know, playing with it. This came up about trying to hook up the Bluefruit to a CircuitPython Express. And it turns out to be a lot of fun. It uses up almost all the pins on the CircuitPython Express, but it does work. And so then you know with the iPhone app, you can turn the lights on and actually play with the accelerometer and access all the sensors. It's really kind of fun. And then just spent some time fixing up the RFM69 library to allow the user to access the Radiohead header, which means that you can have multiple radios then on the same thing and you can distinguish between them because the header contains a to and a from address. And for something I'm doing that really is handy if you have more than one radio. So the header was there, it just wasn't accessible, wasn't brought out to the user before. So got that in for the 69 and I'll try this week to get that into the for the RFM 95.
Okay.
I may not get it done before after tomorrow. I'm heading off for Thanksgiving, so probably won't get to it until I get back.
Okay.
But other than that, just trying to keep breaking things.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate the breakages and have a great Thanksgiving.
You too. Thanks.
All right. Katney.
All right. So last week was, as always, Library Monday. Updated the library tracking issue, verified all the libs are in the bundle, and released any libs with commits since release. I think the bonkers huge release was not last week. I think it was the week before, but we are almost entirely up to date on libraries being released when there are commits. So tested the I2C RGB character LCD shield with CircuitPython. It turns out that the lib had no support whatsoever for it. So then I dove into trying to add support for it and realized that character LCD itself was using driver shims basically that were written into the library for the chips. And we now have an external library for 2 out of 3 of the chips.
Right.
So that's MCP230XX. So and the other chip is the 74HC595, which I wrote a library for, and now that has its own library as well. So now Character LCD relies on 2 external libraries, but should be much faster and much easier to use.
Awesome.
So that got completely refactored, and then in the refactoring, it meant updating everything to match design guidelines and use properties and all kinds of crazy stuff. So that's what I've been doing basically all week. Has been my first real driver work. So that's and it works. Everything works. It's just a matter. I was finishing up doc strings and updating the examples to match the changes, but it's pretty much ready for a PR.
Awesome.
So other than that, I PI'd the MPL 115A2, and the 74HC595 still needs to go up on PyPI. So today will be Library Monday again. This week, I will get the PR in for Character LCD. Lamore wanted to look at that first, so before I actually put in a PR, I'm going to send it to her, and so I can get some reviews on that before it actually goes in. But then once it goes in, I would be happy to have reviews from anybody who wants to do that on that. I haven't tested it with standalone character LCDs because I soldered all of them to backpacks or shields. So they are on the way to be ordered. But if anybody has, once I get that pushed, just the character LCD like standalone and wants to test that, that would be great. I need to test the LSM9DS0 SPI update. I have it wired up. It's just had other things that were priority, so it's waiting for that. Get that done this week, I hope. I need to finish the page for the NeoPixel toggle demo for the Trellis M4. There's a page going into the guide, so that will explain arrays and using set, and we'll show like basically how to use the library to write a whole piece of code versus the regular guide page, which just shows you what the features are. And other than that, there's this whole list of other things, if I actually get through all of that, that I have to do. But I will be around for the most part this week and weekend. I will also be busy during dinner. But other than that, should be around for the rest of the time.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, Katney. And last but not least, Pink Vampire. Do you have status updates?
Not much, because I'm not really gonna do any programming this week. I'm more on kind of metal stuff. I'm a machinist, so
Right.
I basically do like stuff out of metal.
Mm-hmm.
I did a little cool project not long ago. I machined my own soldering iron tip on a lathe.
That's cool.
It was kind of a horrid project that I really want to kind of get done, because I really want to modify something really delicate, and I needed a very fine tip. And the machine one was much faster than getting.
That's so cool.
So stuff like that.
Awesome. Well, that's a great status update. Super interesting.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining the meeting.
Oh, thank you.
All right. And with that, that is status updates. The last section we'll have is the In the Weeds discussion. And we don't have any topics. I don't think I said, but if you have topics, drop them in the text channel. But do we have any? Maybe we don't.
I have a quick one.
All right, go ahead.
So we are adding to the Trellis M4 library auto write and show. That part is fine. However, the question I have for you is there a reason that you had auto write set to false in init for the NeoPixel array class? Or is that something that can be set to true to handle the rest of the addition of auto write as a property that can be settable? Or do you want me to just ping you with this afterwards?
I don't remember why I had it there. I have been lurking on that discussion and thought you guys were doing you were doing a good example, so I'm not worried about it. That's why I didn't chime in.
Okay, then I will post the comment I already had typed up and call it good.
Perfect.
All right, that was my
awesome.
That was my one thing.
All right, let's go to TG Techie then.
Okay. Audio back?
Yep, I can hear you.
So this might be, tell me how in the weeds this actually is, please. But I was working, surprise, on the GUI, and I'm running into memory errors because when I delete a module, like I import time and say del time, the imported text from the external flash, it doesn't seem to go away. Maybe I'm wrong.
Do you mean like the text that is the code, or like text that is a string in the code?
Text that is the code itself.
Right. It's complicated because potentially there's more than one thing that refers to it. And so it basically, like, we provide no guarantees you can actually delete it out of memory.
Okay.
It's something we could probably figure out how to do, but I don't know if it works or not.
Are you doing this in the REPL? Like, why would you delete a module?
So in my GUI, I have it so that it's like a little launcher in your phone, a Springboard app, and you can click a button, it'll send you and open that like program app-ish thing, and when you hit home, it'll send you back to the Springboard.
Right.
But if you open too many of them and too many objects are created, you hit a memory error. So when it hits a memory error, I just tell the microcontroller to reset. But that's a little janky, I think.
So one technique that people have been using for this is multiple mains, where you like rename. You have a launcher, and then you rename the main that you want to launch from some other name to main or code, and then you do the reset. So that's a way. So you always do the reset. It's just that you basically, it's like sort of like a command line or shell script or something where you invoke another program entirely to do the thing. And in this case, you're kind of bootstrapping yourself to do that by changing the name of main instead of trying to keep everything in memory and cleaning up after yourself. You can start with a fresh slate.
Right.
All right, that sounds good.
And then I was thinking about this in terms of the like gaming handheld as well, and my plan was to add the ability to tell the supervisor, like, hey, next time you run this file instead. So you wouldn't actually have to rename any of the files. You just like set some temporary state to the supervisor, like, don't run main next time, run this other thing. And then people can get away with not having a code.py at all if in their boot.py they say, like, run this other thing. Like, then you're less dependent.
From NVMe, run, not NVMe, but like from saved program name, run it.
I don't know what you mean.
When you reboot instead of going to main, you still have main.py.
Right, you could have main.py that runs like when you first start up, but then main.py would say, like, hey, next time you run the VM, run this instead. as a way to just...
Sounds great.
It's doing exactly what Dan's saying, except without having to rename files. You just, we would have some little bit of state that says, this is the file name that I run next time. And then you could imagine that if people never want to have a code.py, they could just have a boot.py that says like, run this other thing instead.
So Scott, I can't remember when we, you could do a hard reset, but do we have a way to do just the auto reload?
Yeah, I think
programmatically.
Microcontroller.reset, or is that hard?
That's a hard reset, but I think we do have a soft reset. I mean, you can raise reload exception, I think, but I think there's a supervisor. I'm looking right now. I would put in supervisor. That's where I would do it.
If you unmount from a drive, from the main computer, you can edit a Python file as a piece of text, right?
If you what?
If you unmount from the computer? Is that the right terminology?
You could remount it. You could remount it, read write, and then the host computer sees it read only.
Right.
Okay.
And you can only do that when USB isn't connected, so you have to do that in boot.py.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but I think so. But Scott's saying a sort of way, right? I mean, this isn't implemented yet. What Scott? So,
right.
Yeah.
This is or isn't. Sorry.
It is not. What I was suggesting is not added yet.
In any way, shape, or form?
Yeah, there we don't have we don't have the piece of state of what file name to run yet.
Okay. Thank you. This was really helpful.
And there is, why is my paste not working? I'm in the wrong mode. There's supervisor.reload, which will do a soft reload rather than a hard reset.
Is that the same as a control D at the REPL?
Yes.
Okay.
So you could, for instance, save state in, instead of doing this file name renaming, you could also just have a main that imports things additionally. And then you wouldn't have to do the renaming and remount the file system read write. You could store the state that you want to reload in NVM, in the NVM or something like that.
That makes me think we should have some sort of like RAM scratch pad as well.
It does, because I don't really want to wear out.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe.
Could one just randomly choose one of the free sections of Flash every time? Oh, but if you're software loading, never mind.
Right. The thing is, you don't need it permanently stored.
Yeah. Just as long as power's on.
Right. Just the question is what survives the soft reload? After supervisor reload, what survives? And right now, nothing really survives, but we could make something survive.
Right.
Like just an integer or something, or a block, NVM kind of thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. Who wants to file a bug for that? Call it scratch memory or something.
Just as an idea to throw out here, could we make it easily definable rather than just hard code it?
Like how big it is?
Or where it is, like how many pages or something like that. I don't want to highlight making work for other people. What can I say?
I think having a location
maybe simpler is better.
What if it was in boot.py?
To tell it how big it should be?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's... I mean, I'm starting to have this model of, like, you can set some state for the VM next time is fine. And so you could say, like, import scratch memory dot grow next time, or set size next time. And then do the reload, and then you get scratch memory that's larger. You lose heap space then, but
Right. I mean, and Scott's provided a general heap space, sort of pre-VM heap space allocator. So this would be work perfectly.
right, and that was a precondition for being able to do the string thing too. But maybe it's right. Maybe I shouldn't worry about the like on next reset run this thing, and rather than just doing this like RAM that stays around and then it's more general.
Yeah, I think that would work really great. Yeah.
Right.
Sounds really useful.
Cool. Well, who wants to write an issue for that? Any volunteers?
I'm willing to be in an hour or so.
Yeah, no worries. That'd be awesome. And then any of us can follow up if we have other comments on it.
Hello?
All right.
I'm still there.
Yeah.
Okay. I missed that.
Yeah, just file
Someone
it.
called me.
Oh, yeah. Well, we'll file the issue and we'll follow up on the issue there.
Sounds good.
It could be a good first issue for anybody, actually, because it's not too hard.
I'm definitely inexperienced with issues.
I bet you could do it.
Okay.
All right. I don't know of any other weeds topics. Deshipu, I know you came in late. Do you have hug reports and status updates? Nothing. Okay. All right. I'll wrap us up then. After I take a time code. So this is. All right. You're breaking up now. Okay. Bye. So this is the CircuitPython Weekly for November 19th, 2018. Everybody is welcome to join. And if you'd like to join, you can join our Discord where we host the meeting by going to the URL adafru.it/discord. That'll get you in. We're in the text channel most of the week, so come chat with us there. And then the voice channel Mondays at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. Happy to have folks drop in and talk about whatever they're doing with CircuitPython or whether they're making things on a lathe, which is awesome as well. Let's see. This video was recorded. I record the Discord channel and post it. It will be posted on YouTube and Diode Zone, which is a PeerTube instance for electronics videos run by Scanline, which is really cool. So thank you to Scanline for that hosting as well. The links will be available in the Adafruit Daily Python for Microcontrollers newsletter that goes out Tuesday mornings. So take a look for it there. I'll also post in the text channel links to the videos as well. Next week we should be on our normal schedule, so please join us next week. And until then, we'll see you in the text channel. Thanks all.
Thanks, everyone.